All right, today we are going to complete 3.3. 3.3 is all about dividing polynomials. So remember, a polynomial is anything or any function that has an exponent. So an example would be like y equals x cubed minus 2x squared plus 1. Or you could do negative x to the fifth or positive x to the fifth. A polynomial is anything that has multiple terms with multiple exponents. So there are two ways to divide polynomials. The first way is synthetic division. And we can use this when we're dividing by a linear polynomial. Use when dividing by a linear. And we can only use synthetic division when we have a linear. If we are dividing by a quadratic or a cubic or anything else other than the linear, then we have to use the other one, which is long division. Long division can be used in any circumstance. Okay, so let's recall actually how we long divide. So this is supposed to say, you're probably cut off here. So it says 7 into 9/16. So we're going to go back to our elementary days, and we're going to kind of refresh on how we long divide. Remember that it's always set up like this. We're taking 916 divided by 7. So how many times does 7 go into 916? Well, we can break it up, right? So 7 goes into 9 once. 1 times 7 is 7. And then we subtract. 9 minus 7 is 2. Well, 7 doesn't go into 2, so I bring down my 1. 7 into 21 is 3. 3 times 21 is 21. Subtract 0. Bring down the 6. Well, 7 does not go into that, so it goes into 6 0 times. And we're left with 6 sevenths. So our answer here is 130 and 6 sevenths. You could change that into a decimal if you want, but in terms of what we're going to be doing this unit, I would probably leave it as a fraction. Remember that 6 over 7 is your remainder. Okay, so a lot of times you used to write 130 remainder 6. We're going to get rid of that, and we're going to start writing our remainder, goodness, we're going to start writing our remainder over our divisor, so what we're dividing by. Okay, we can set this up in long division form. 8, 7, 3, 1. 3 goes into 8 twice. 2 times 3 is 6. Subtract 2, bring down the 7. 3 goes into 27 9 times. 9 times 3 is 27. Subtract, bring down the 3. 3 goes into 3 once. 1 times 3 is 3. Bring down your last one. Does not go into 1, goes in 0 times. 0 times 3 is 3. 0 times 3 is 0, so we have a remainder of 1. So we're going to say 1/3. Okay, so we can kind of see that steps for long division kind of vary depending on how long your expression is, how long your divisor is, how many numbers you have left over, right? We had a lot more steps for this one than we did for this one. So it kind of depends. Now, when we're going into long division for polynomials, we're going to use the exact same steps for elementary long division. And we're going to make sure our polynomials are in the correct order. So if you look at this one, those are not in the correct order, so we would reorder those before we even start. So we're going to start with this one. We're going to set it up the exact same way, and we're going to take the same steps. So x minus 4 into 5x squared minus 17x minus 12. And we're going to start like that. Okay, now when we are dividing polynomials, obviously we can't tell how many times x minus 4 goes into this polynomial. So what we do is we only focus on our variable. So we say, how many times does x go into 5x squared? Well, what would I have to multiply x by to get 5x squared? I have to multiply it by 5x. Right? You're always trying to cancel out that first term. So now if I take 5x times x, I'm going to get 5x squared. Subtract, that's going to give me 0. Now I have to take my 5x and I have to multiply it by my negative 4. So that would give me negative 20x. Subtracting it will make it a positive. So negative 17x plus 20x is going to give me 3x. Now I start all over again. So x into 3x, what do I have to multiply x by to get 3x? I have to multiply it by 3, so I'm going to put a plus 3. Now, 3 times x is 3x. 3 times negative 4 is negative 12. We're going to bring this negative 12 down. 12. Those cancel, right? Because we're subtracting this whole thing. So that's going to become a positive. And that's also going to cancel. And I'm going to be left with 0. So 5x squared minus 17x minus 12 divided by x minus 4 gives me an answer of 5x plus 3. Now, don't worry, we're going to get tons of practice with this. So let's go ahead and do this next one. Let's reorder this to start with. So this is 6x cubed minus 16x squared plus 17x minus 6. 3x minus 2 into 6x cubed minus 16x squared plus 17x minus 6. All right, so remember we only focus on this very first one. 3x into 6x cubed. So what do I have to multiply 3x by to get 6x cubed? Well, I have to multiply 3 by 2. I know that much. And I have to multiply by x squared in order to get x cubed. So now I take this. 2x squared times 3x is going to give me 6x cubed. 2x squared times negative 2 gives me negative 4x squared. And we subtract. So I'm going to change my signs on both of these. So subtract and add. Those are going to cancel. Negative 16x squared plus 4x squared is going to give me negative 12x squared. I'm going to go ahead and bring this down because I've got two terms here. So I'm going to constantly want two terms to cancel out with. So I'm going to bring down my 17x. Okay, 3x into negative 12x squared. 3 times negative 4 is going to give me negative 12. X times x is going to give me that x squared. So negative 4x times 3x is negative 12x squared. Negative 4x times negative 2 is positive 8x. Subtract, so change your signs. So positive, negative, those will cancel. 17x minus 8x is going to give me 9x. You want two terms because you have two terms up here, so bring down your negative 6. 3x into 9x, so 3 times 3 is going to give me 9. I don't have to multiply my x by anything to get an x. So 3 times 3x is going to give me that 9x. And then 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. Subtract, so change your signs, and you're left with 0. So my answer here is 2x squared minus 4x plus 3. Okay, so if you notice, the last two that we did had no remainders. Okay, so if we have a remainder, which we'll see on the next page, I'll show you how to write that. But see how here, both of our last few steps canceled out completely, so we didn't have a remainder. So when that happens, that means that this, what we divided by, is actually a factor of this. Like if I had taken 5x squared minus 17x minus 12 and I factored it, I would have gotten one of my factors as x minus 4. My other factor would have been 5x plus 3. Okay, so just like in division of integers, if the remainder is equal to 0, that means that the number of the polynomial you divided by is a factor of the dividend. So think about like if I take 24 divided by 6, I just get 4 with no remainder. But if I take 24 divided by 5, I get 4 and 4/5. Right? I have a remainder of 4. So here, we know that 6 and 4 are both factors of 24, and we didn't have a remainder. Okay, that happens in polynomials as well. So let's see a couple that do have remainders. Okay. So this one's you're gonna see a couple different things on this one, which I like. So first we need to note that we don't have an x squared term and we don't have an x term. So if that happens, if we're missing a term, we have to put a 0 in its place. So I'm gonna go ahead and write it out as x cubed plus 0x squared plus 0x minus 9. Notice if you have a 0 times an x, that's going to be 0. So I just put the x squareds on there because in terms of long dividing, I want to visually, and this is my preference, but I want to visually see the actual terms. Okay. Now, if you just want to put a 0 without the x squared there, that's fine, but you do have to put a 0. So let's go ahead and set this up. So x minus 3 into x cubed plus 0x squared plus 0x minus 9. And remember, we only focus on that very first term. So x into x cubed. X times x squared would give me x cubed. X squared times x is x cubed. X squared times negative 3 is negative 3x squared. Subtract, so change your signs. 0x squared plus 3x squared is 3x squared. I have two terms here, so I want to continually have two terms. Plus 0x. X times 3x would give me 3x squared. 3x times x is 3x squared like I thought. And then 3x times negative 3 is negative 9x. Subtract, so change your signs. 3x squared minus 3x squared will cancel. 0x plus 9x will give me 9x. I want 2 terms, so I'm going to bring down my negative 9. X times 9 would give me 9x. Oops, times 9, not 9x. 9 times x is 9x, like we thought. 9 times negative 3 is negative 27. Subtract, so change your signs. Negative 9 plus 27 is going to give me 18. X doesn't go into 18. So here, we're going to have a remainder of 18. Now, when we write this as our answer, so x squared plus 3x plus 9. And remember, if we ever have a remainder, we put that over our divisor. So that's plus 18 over what we divided by, which was x minus 3. Okay, so there's an example of one with a remainder. This is, spoiler alert, going to also have a remainder. Okay, so reorder, right? We see that things are out of order here, so we want to put them back in order. So 2x squared, 2x to the 4th, sorry. 2x to the 4th plus 4x cubed minus 5x squared plus 3x minus 2. So here's an example of when we would have to use long division, right? This is not a linear divisor. We would have to use long division. And you're probably going to prefer synthetic division because it's faster and easier. But in this case, you wouldn't be able to use it. So go ahead and set up your division. So 2x to the 4th plus 4x cubed minus 5x squared plus 3x minus 2. And we're not missing any terms, so we're okay. Remember, you just worry about your first term. So x squared into 2x to the 4th. Obviously, I would have to multiply by a 2. X squared times x squared is going to get me that x to the 4th. And now we've got 3 terms here, so we're going to take that 2x squared and we're going to multiply it by all 3 terms. So 2x squared times x squared is 2x to the 4th. 2x squared times 2x, 2 times 2 is positive 4. X squared times x is x cubed. Two x squared times negative 3 is negative 6x squared. Subtract, so change all of your signs. That's going to cancel. My second term is also going to cancel. And here, negative 5x plus 6x squared is just x squared. Now, I've got 3 terms, so I want to continue to have 3 terms down here. So I'm going to bring down my negative 3x, or my positive 3x, and my negative 2, so that I constantly have the same amount of terms down here as I had up here. So x squared into x squared times 1 would give me x squared. Now 1 times 2x, so 1 times x squared is x squared. 1 times 2x is positive 2x. 1 times negative 3 is negative 3. Subtract, so change your signs. So x squared minus x squared is obviously 0. 3x times 3, or 3x minus 2x is x. Negative 2 plus 3 is 1. X squared does not go into x. I can't multiply x squared by anything in order to get x, so here is our remainder. So we're left with 2x squared plus 1 plus x plus 1 over x squared plus 2x minus 3. Now, if you're confused and you're like, well, that factors. Well, this would factor into x, what is that? Plus 3, x minus 1. So even though here you've got an x plus 1, those wouldn't cancel and that wouldn't actually simplify. Okay, so that is long division. Now we're going to move on to synthetic division, which I think you will enjoy more. But remember that you can only use synthetic division in very specific circumstances and when you only have a linear. You could have used synthetic division here. That would have been fine, and you would have gotten the exact same answer. Okay, so synthetic division. Same story goes. If we're left with a 0 remainder, then what we actually divided by is actually a factor. Also, we always have to reorder things. So this very first one, we're going to have to reorder into negative x cubed plus 2x squared minus 3x plus 5. Again, when setting up our synthetic division, we put zeros in for any missing terms. So synthetic division is actually an upside down division sign or long division sign with what we were working with. Now, you probably want a pretty big L shape, okay? And we're going to fill it in with only numbers. So only numbers go in this synthetic division box. No variables go in it, no exponents go in it, only values in here. Okay, and those values that we put in here are the coefficients on our terms, and we always put them in order. So our coefficient on x cubed is -1. Our coefficient on x squared is 2. We don't put any signs except for negatives. Coefficient on x is -3. And our constant here is 5. Okay, now we divide by x plus 1. But when we're synthetically dividing, we don't put x plus 1 out here because remember there are no variables that go in this synthetic division box. What we do is we flip our sign, and we are now dividing by -1. If you want a simple explanation for that, we have to find what x values go into this. So when I have x plus 1, I'm really wanting to know what the x value is. So I subtract over my 1, and I get x is equal to -1. That's how I know to divide by -1. You also just can know to flip your sign because that will always happen. So now what happens is we bring down our first one, so -1. That always happens. There's always an arrow in this spot. What happens on the outside here is I multiply. So I take -1 times -1, and I get +1. Okay. Now, on the inside of synthetic division, we add. So, multiply, add. So 2 plus 1 is 3. Now I multiply again because that's on the outside. -1 times 3 is -3. Add. -3 minus 3 is -6. -1 times -6 is +6. And I'm left with 11. So I should explain this 11, sorry. Now, I have this 11 in the back. The last number every single time in synthetic division is your remainder. And I always draw a box around it to know that it's my remainder, and that's where my actual function stops. I want you to think about this for a second. We took our x cubed and we divided it by a linear function or a linear expression. Whenever we do that, your first exponent will now decrease by 1 because you took away an x value from all of these terms. So we started with an x cubed. Our end result is going to be an x squared. So here, these are now all coefficients on our functions terms or on our answers terms. So because this started with an x cubed and we took away an x, this is now my first coefficient on the next one, which is -x squared. You can also think about it backwards. If this is our remainder, then this is our constant. Then this is what comes after constant, a linear. So this is our linear coefficient. What comes after linear? Quadratic. So negative x squared plus 3x minus 6 plus our remainder, which is 11 over. Our divisor was x plus 1. So definitely not as many steps as long division was up there, but it is a little confusing, right? There are some things that we could get confused by, like if we're missing a term. So let's go ahead and see that. So we flip our sign. We know that we're going to divide by positive 2. We start with a cubed, so that automatically tells us our answer is going to start with a squared. And now we put our coefficients in. So 1, negative 4, 2, 5. We're not missing any terms. I thought we were. So you can space them out more. Bring down the first one. 1. 2 times 1 is 2. Negative 4 plus 2 is negative 2. 2 times negative 2 is negative 4. 2 plus negative 4 is negative 2. 2 times negative 2 again is negative 4. 5 minus 4 is 1. That last number is always your remainder. Started with an x cubed. We're going to start here. Our answer is going to start with an x squared. And then just keep going. So minus 2x minus 2 plus 1 over our divisor, which was x minus 2. So definitely faster than long division once you get the hang of it. Okay, next page. So use synthetic division or long division to find all of the factors of the given function. Divide the function by one of the factors given. You will get 0 as the remainder because it is a factor, right? We know that those two are factors. Divide your answer to 1 by the next factor. Your answer is the remaining factor, or factor the answer if you can, and those are the remaining factors. So goal is to factor completely. Now, whenever we have coefficients on here, I probably want to use long division instead of synthetic division. So this very first one, let's use 2x plus 1 and let's long divide. The second one we will use synthetic division on. So 2x plus 1 into 6, let's make sure it's in order, 6x cubed plus 41x squared minus 9x minus 14. Remember, you only worry about your first one. 2x times, let's see, 3x squared, right? 3 times 2 is 6. X squared times x is x cubed. We want to cancel that first term out. We have two terms, right? So 3x squared times 1 is 3x squared. Subtract, so change your signs. First term will cancel. 41x squared minus 3x squared is, what is that? 38x squared. Okay, I've got two terms, so I want to keep that to two terms, so I'm going to bring down my negative 9x. 2 times 19 will give me 38, right? I could have just taken 38 divided by 2. And then x times x is going to give me x squared. So 19x times 2x is 38x squared. 19x times 1 is positive 19x. Subtract, so change your signs. Negative 9x minus 19x is negative 28x. I have two terms, so I want to keep it to two terms, negative 14. Remember that we should get 0 as our remainder. So 2x times, what is that, negative 14. Negative 14 times 2x is negative 28x. Negative 14 times negative 1 is negative 14. Subtract, so change your signs. And I should get a remainder of 0. Okay. So now I can take my next factor and take this, my leftover, and divide, and I should get all of my factors. Now, because this is squared, you could factor this. Now, when you're left with like a cubed or anything else, you probably want to, again, long divide. So if I take 3x squared plus 19x minus 14, hopefully I can factor. If not, then 3x minus 2 I would have to long divide again. Now, you shouldn't get a remainder because we know that these two are two of the factors. So let's see, 2 and 7, 2, 6, nope, so I want 7 over here to give me 21, and 2 here, yep, I want a positive 21 and a negative. Now we knew 3x minus 2 was a factor, so that could have helped. So now I know that all of these, 2x plus 1, 3x minus 2, and x plus 7, are my factors of this. Okay, so we wanted to find all of our factors. So our factors are 3x minus 2, x plus 7, and 2x plus 1. Now let's talk about this in terms of zeros. My answers to my equation, so my solutions, right, are 2/3, right? If I set these all equal to 0, I would be able to find my solutions to these answers, or this function, sorry, so negative 7 and negative 1/2. Okay. You do know that synthetic division goes quicker, so it shouldn't be much longer. So factors are x minus 5 and x plus 4. There are no coefficients like up here, so I can go ahead and use synthetic division. So set up your opposite division lines. Remember to change your numbers, right? Change your signs, flip your signs. Make sure it's in order. Make sure you're not missing any terms. If you're missing a term, write 0. 1, negative 4, negative 15, 58, and negative 40. So I'm going to extend my synthetic division line. Bring down your first one. 5 times 1 is 5. Negative 4 plus 5 is 1. 5 times 1 is 5. Negative 15 plus 5 is negative 10. 5 times negative 10 is negative 50. 58 minus 50 is 8. 5 times 8 is 40. Remainder 0, which you should get a remainder of 0. Now, in order to synthetically divide twice, instead of writing this all out, I'm actually just going to continue my synthetic division lines with my next divisor. Now, it does not matter which one goes first. You could have divided by negative 4 first, and it would have been just fine. You would have gotten different numbers down here, but in the end, you should get a remainder of 0, and you'll still get a remainder of 0 on the second time as well. So, bring down your 1. Negative 4 times 1 is negative 4. 1 minus 4 is negative 3. Negative 4 times negative 3 is positive 12. Negative 10 plus 12 is 2. Negative 4 times 2 is negative 8 with a 0. Now, I'm not going to take -4 times 0 because that would be, this is not part of our actual function, right? This would be our function because we had a remainder of 0. Okay, so now read this, right? We started with a fourth. This would be going down to an x to the third. Now this goes down to x squared, right? We divided twice. So this is x squared minus 3x plus 2. I don't believe it's factorable. Factors of 2 that add to, oh, duh, 2 and 1. So this would be x minus 2, x minus 1. So my factors, I could rewrite this as as factors, x minus 2, x minus 1, x plus 4, and x minus 5. My zeros would be 2, 1, -4, and +5. So remember that we would cross the x-axis at those two values. Okay, so that is division of polynomials. So go ahead and start working on your 3.3 homework and let me know if you have any questions.